Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I'm your teacher and friend, Emily. Today, I want to share something really special with you. We're going to talk about job interviews, and I'm going to teach you the most important vocabulary and phrases you need to know. Whether you're looking for your first job or wanting to change careers, this lesson will help you feel more confident and prepared. Before we begin, can I ask you something? If you're enjoying our videos, please give this one a like. Your one like really helps us stay motivated to make more videos for you. And don't forget to leave a comment. Tell me about your job interview experiences. Have you ever had an interview in English? How did it go? We read every single comment and try our best to reply. Also, if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us, and you'll never miss a new lesson. Alright, let's get started. I remember when I had my first job interview 7 years ago. I was so nervous. My hands were shaking and I couldn't sleep the night before. But you know what? That nervousness is completely normal. Everyone feels nervous before a job interview, even native English speakers. The good news is that with the right preparation and the right words, you can turn that nervousness into confidence. Let me tell you a story about my student, Maria. She came to me 3 months ago, feeling really worried about job interviews in English. Her English was actually quite good, but she didn't know the specific words and phrases that employers expect to hear. After we worked together for a few weeks, she got a job at a big company. She told me later that our lessons made all the difference, and that's exactly what I want to do for you today. So, what makes a job interview successful? Well, it's not just about having the right qualifications, it's about communicating your value clearly and confidently. And to do that, you need to know the right vocabulary and phrases. Today, I'm going to share with you the exact words and expressions that will help you shine in any job interview. First, let's talk about the most common job interview questions and how to answer them. The first question you'll almost always hear is, "Tell me about yourself." This is not asking about your personal life, like what you had for breakfast or your favorite color. This is asking about your professional background. Here's a simple formula you can use. Start with your current situation, then mention your relevant experience, and finish with why you're interested in this particular job. For example, you could say, "I'm currently working as a customer service representative at a retail company. I have 3 years of experience helping customers solve problems and handling complaints. I'm really interested in this position because I want to use my communication skills in a larger company where I can grow and learn new things." See how simple that is? You don't need to use complicated words, just be clear and direct. Now, let me give you some key phrases you can use when talking about yourself. You can say, "I have experience in," or "I specialize in," or "I'm skilled at." These phrases show confidence without sounding like you're bragging. Another very common question is, "Why do you want to work here?" This is where you need to show that you've done your homework about the company. Don't just say, "I need a job," or "the salary is good." Instead, mention something specific about the company that interests you. You could say, "I've been following your company for a while, and I'm really impressed by your commitment to customer satisfaction. I believe my experience in customer service would be a great fit for your team." Or you might say, "I love how innovative your company is. I've read about your recent projects, and I'm excited about the possibility of contributing to that kind of creative work." The key here is to connect your skills and interests with what the company does. This shows that you're not just looking for any job, you're looking for this specific job. Now let's talk about one of the trickiest questions. What are your strengths and weaknesses? For strengths, don't just list personality traits like "I'm nice" or "I'm friendly." Instead, focus on professional skills that are relevant to the job. For example, one of my key strengths is my ability to work well under pressure. In my previous job, we often had tight deadlines, and I learned how to prioritize tasks and stay calm even when things got busy. Or you could say, "I'm really good at problem solving." I enjoy finding creative solutions when challenges come up, and my colleagues often come to me when they need help figuring things out. For weaknesses, here's the secret. Choose something real, but show how you're working to improve it. Never say, I don't have any weaknesses, because that sounds dishonest. And never choose a weakness that would make you bad at the job you're applying for. A good example might be, I used to struggle with public speaking, but I've been taking a communication course and volunteering to give presentations at work. I'm getting much more comfortable with it, and I actually enjoy it now. This shows self-awareness and a commitment to growing and learning. Let me share another story with you. I had a student named Ahmed who was applying for jobs in accounting. He was worried about his accent and thought employers wouldn't take him seriously. But you know what? He practiced these phrases with me, and he focused on speaking clearly and confidently rather than trying to sound like a native speaker. He got the job. The employer told him later that they were impressed by his preparation and his clear communication, not by his accent. This brings me to an important point. Your accent is not a problem. What matters is that you speak clearly and use the right vocabulary. Employers want to hire people who can communicate effectively, not people who sound like they were born in an English-speaking country. Now, let's talk about salary and benefits. This is often the most uncomfortable part of a job interview, but it's also very important. You need to know how to talk about money professionally. If the interviewer asks about your salary expectations, you have a few options. You can say, I'm looking for a salary that's competitive for this type of position in this area. Or you might say, I'm more interested in finding the right opportunity than in a specific number. What's the typical range for this position? If you want to be more direct, you could say, based on my research and experience, I was thinking somewhere in the range of, and then give a range, not a specific number. For example, somewhere in the range of $40,000 to $50,000 per year. Remember, it's okay to negotiate, but do it politely. You might say, I'm very interested in this position. Is there any flexibility in the salary? Or would it be possible to discuss the benefits package as well? Speaking of benefits, let me teach you some important vocabulary. Benefits are the extra things a company gives you besides your salary. This might include health insurance, vacation days, sick leave, retirement plans, or professional development opportunities. You can ask, what benefits does the company offer? Or, can you tell me about the health insurance options? Or, how many vacation days do employees typically get? Let's talk about questions you should ask the interviewer. Yes, you should ask questions. This shows that you're interested and engaged. Here are some good ones. What would a typical day look like in this position? This helps you understand what you'd actually be doing. What are the biggest challenges facing the team right now? This shows you're thinking about how you can help solve problems. What opportunities are there for professional development? This shows you want to grow and learn. What do you enjoy most about working here? This is a nice personal question that can help you understand the company culture. Now, I want to talk about body language and other nonverbal communication. Even though this is a vocabulary lesson, how you present yourself is just as important as what you say. Make eye contact when you're speaking. This shows confidence and honesty. Sit up straight, but try to look relaxed. Smile naturally, especially when you're greeting the interviewer and when you're leaving. When you shake hands, make it firm but not too strong. And remember to turn off your phone. Nothing is more unprofessional than having your phone ring during an interview. Let me tell you about another student of mine. Her name was Lisa, and she was applying for a job as a teacher. She knew all the right words, but she was so nervous that she spoke very quickly and forgot to smile. We practiced together, and I taught her to pause, breathe, and speak more slowly. She got the job, and the principal told her that her calm, confident manner was one of the reasons they chose her. This reminds me of something very important. Practice makes perfect. Don't wait until the day of your interview to practice these phrases. Say them out loud. Practice in front of a mirror. Ask a friend or family member to do a practice interview with you. Now, let's talk about some specific vocabulary you might need depending on the type of job you're applying for. If you're applying for a customer service job, you'll want to use words like patient, helpful, reliable, and communication skills. You might say, I pride myself on being patient with customers, even when they're frustrated. For office jobs, important words include organized, detail oriented, multitasking, deadline, and teamwork. You could say, I'm very organized and good at managing multiple projects at the same time. If you're applying for a sales job, you'll want to mention persuasive, goal oriented, relationship building, and results driven. For example, I'm motivated by achieving goals and building strong relationships with clients. For technical jobs, you might use analytical, problem solving, innovative, and technical expertise. You could say, I have strong analytical skills and enjoy solving complex technical problems. Let me give you some phrases for talking about your experience. Instead of just saying, I worked at, try these. I was responsible for. I managed. I developed. I improved. I achieved. I collaborated with. These action words make you sound more professional and accomplished. For example, instead of saying, I worked in customer service, you could say, I was responsible for handling customer inquiries and resolving complaints. Now, what about talking about gaps in your employment? Maybe you were unemployed for a while or you took time off to take care of family. Don't try to hide this. Be honest, but focus on what you learned or did during that time. You might say, I took some time off to care for my elderly mother, but during that time I also took an online course in computer skills to keep my knowledge current. Or, I was looking for the right opportunity and wanted to make sure I found a position where I could really contribute and grow. Let's talk about follow-up after the interview. This is something many people forget, but it's really important. You should send a thank you email within 24 hours of your interview. Keep it simple and professional. You might write, Thank you for taking the time to meet with me yesterday. I enjoyed learning more about the position and your company. I'm very interested in the opportunity and look forward to hearing from you. If you don't hear back within the time frame they mentioned, it's okay to send a polite follow-up email. You could say, I wanted to follow up on our interview last week. I'm still very interested in the position and wondered if you had any updates you could share. I remember another student, David, who was so excited after his interview that he sent 3 emails in one day. I had to teach him that being enthusiastic is good, but being pushy is not. One thank you email and maybe one follow-up if you don't hear back. That's it. Now, let's address something that many of my students worry about. What if you don't understand a question during the interview? It's perfectly okay to ask for clarification. You can say, I'm sorry, could you repeat that question? Or, could you explain what you mean by that? Or, I want to make sure I understand correctly. Are you asking about? This is much better than guessing or giving an answer that doesn't match the question. Employers respect honesty and the desire to communicate clearly. What about technical terms or industry-specific vocabulary? If you're applying for a job in a field you're not familiar with, make sure you research the common terms and phrases used in that industry. But don't use words you don't really understand. It's better to use simple, clear language than to use complicated words incorrectly. Let me share a success story that always makes me smile. I had a student named Carlos who was a very skilled mechanic in his home country, but his English wasn't very strong. He was applying for jobs at car repair shops here. We worked together on vocabulary related to car parts and repair procedures, but more importantly, we worked on confidence. Carlos learned to say things like, I have 10 years of experience working on engines, and I'm very careful and pay attention to details when I'm diagnosing problems. He didn't use fancy words, but he communicated his expertise clearly. He got hired at a busy auto shop, and his boss later told him that his practical knowledge and reliable work ethic were exactly what they needed. This story illustrates something important. Employers hire people who can do the job well, not people who use the fanciest vocabulary. Your skills and experience matter more than perfect grammar or a perfect accent. Now, let's talk about some common mistakes I see students make in job interviews. The first mistake is talking too much. When someone asks you a question, answer it completely but don't go on and on. A good answer is usually between 30 seconds and 2 minutes, depending on the question. The second mistake is being too negative about previous jobs or employers. Even if you had a bad experience, try to focus on what you learned or how it helped you grow. Instead of saying, "My last boss was terrible," you could say, "I learned that I work best in environments where there's clear communication and mutual respect." The third mistake is not preparing questions to ask. Remember, an interview is a conversation, not an interrogation. Show that you're interested by asking thoughtful questions about the company and the position. The fourth mistake is dressing inappropriately. The general rule is to dress one level more formal than what employees typically wear. If you're not sure, it's better to be slightly overdressed than underdressed. Let me tell you about Sarah, one of my students who made all of these mistakes in her first interview. She showed up in casual clothes, spent 10 minutes complaining about her previous job, and didn't ask any questions. Obviously, she didn't get the job. But we worked together, and in her next interview, she was prepared, professional, and positive. She got the job and has been promoted twice since then. This brings me to an important point about rejection. If you don't get a job after an interview, don't take it personally. There could be many reasons that have nothing to do with you or your qualifications. Maybe they decided to hire someone internally, or maybe they found someone with very specific experience they needed. The important thing is to learn from each interview. Ask yourself, what went well? What could I improve next time? If possible, you can even ask the interviewer for feedback. You might say, "I understand you've chosen another candidate. Would you be willing to share any feedback that might help me in future interviews?" Now, let's talk about phone and video interviews, which are becoming more and more common. Many of the same rules apply, but there are some special considerations. For phone interviews, make sure you're in a quiet place with good reception. Have your resume and notes in front of you. Since the interviewer can't see you, your voice becomes even more important. Speak clearly and try to sound enthusiastic and engaged. For video interviews, test your technology beforehand. Make sure your camera and microphone work properly. Choose a quiet location with good lighting and a professional background. Look at the camera, not at the screen, when you're speaking. This gives the impression of eye contact. I had a student named Jennifer who had her first video interview last month. She was so worried about the technology that she forgot to prepare for the actual interview questions. We learned that it's important to practice with the technology, but don't let it distract you from the main purpose of the interview. Let me give you some phrases that are particularly useful in any job interview. I'm excited about the opportunity to. I believe I would be a good fit because. In my previous role, I was able to. I'm looking forward to. I'd welcome the chance to. I'm confident that I can. These phrases show enthusiasm and confidence without sounding arrogant. Now, what about interviews for your first job, when you don't have much work experience? Don't worry. You can talk about school projects, volunteer work, internships, or even part-time jobs. The key is to show transferable skills. For example, if you worked in a restaurant, you can talk about working under pressure, multitasking, and customer service. If you were a student leader, you can mention leadership and organizational skills. If you volunteer at a charity, you can discuss teamwork and commitment to helping others. I remember working with a young student named Michael who was applying for his first office job. He was worried because he had only worked at a fast food restaurant. But we identified all the valuable skills he had learned, working in a team, handling difficult customers, working quickly and efficiently, and being reliable. He presented these skills confidently in his interview and got the job. Let's talk about salary negotiation a bit more. This is something that makes many people uncomfortable, but it's a normal part of the hiring process. If you're offered a job, you can ask for time to consider the offer. You might say, "Thank you for the offer. I'm very excited about the opportunity. Could I have a day or two to review the details?" If you want to negotiate, be respectful and professional. You could say, I'm thrilled about the opportunity to join your team. Based on my research and experience, I was hoping we could discuss a salary of, or would there be flexibility to increase the salary to? Remember, negotiation isn't just about money. You might negotiate for more vacation days, flexible working hours, professional development opportunities, or other benefits that are important to you. Now, let me share some insider tips that I've learned from my years of teaching and from talking to employers. First, arrive about 10 to 15 minutes early. This shows that you're punctual and respect other people's time. But don't arrive too early, as this can be inconvenient for the interviewer. Second, bring multiple copies of your resume, even if you've already sent it electronically. This shows you're prepared and professional. Third, prepare specific examples of your accomplishments. Instead of just saying, I'm good at problem solving, have a specific story ready. You might say, last year, our team was struggling with a process that was taking too long. I suggested a new approach that reduced the time by 30% and improved accuracy. Fourth, research the company thoroughly. Look at their website, read recent news about them, and try to understand their values and goals. This will help you ask better questions and show genuine interest. I want to address something that worries many of my students: age discrimination. Whether you're very young or older, you might worry that your age will work against you. While I can't deny that this sometimes happens, I want to encourage you to focus on what you can control: your skills, your attitude, and your preparation. If you're young, emphasize your energy, your willingness to learn, and your fresh perspective. If you're older, highlight your experience, your reliability, and your maturity. Every age has advantages, so focus on yours. Let me tell you about Robert, a 55-year-old student who was worried about finding a new job after being laid off. He thought employers would prefer younger candidates. But we worked on presenting his experience as valuable expertise, not just old knowledge. He emphasized his mentoring abilities and his strong work ethic. He found a great job where his experience was truly valued. Now, let's talk about cultural differences in job interviews. Different countries have different expectations and customs. In some cultures, it's considered boastful to talk about your achievements. But in English-speaking countries, especially in job interviews, you need to be able to talk about your successes confidently. This doesn't mean you should exaggerate or lie. It means you should be comfortable sharing your accomplishments in a straightforward way. Practice saying things like, I successfully managed a team of 5 people, or I increased sales by 20% in my department. Some cultures also have different expectations about eye contact, personal space, and small talk. In most English-speaking countries, making eye contact shows confidence and honesty. Standing or sitting at a comfortable distance, not too close, not too far, is important. And a little bit of friendly small talk at the beginning of the interview is normal and expected. I had a student named Yuki who came from a culture where looking directly at authority figures was considered disrespectful. We had to practice making appropriate eye contact during our mock interviews. It felt uncomfortable for her at first, but she understood that it was important for success in her new country. Let's talk about what to do if you're asked an illegal or inappropriate question during an interview. In most countries, employers are not allowed to ask about your age, marital status, religion, or plans to have children. If you're asked such a question, you can politely redirect the conversation. You might say, I prefer to focus on my qualifications for this position, or I'm not sure how that relates to the job requirements. Could we talk about? If you're comfortable, you can sometimes address the underlying concern. For example, if someone asks about your family plans, they might be worried about your commitment to the job. You could say, I'm very committed to my career and this opportunity. Is there a specific concern about my availability or dedication that I can address? Now, I want to talk about something that's becoming more common: panel interviews where you meet with multiple people at the same time. This can feel intimidating, but the same principles apply. Make eye contact with everyone, not just the person who asked the question. When you're answering, look at the person who asked the question, but also glance at the other panel members to include them in your response. If you don't know someone's name, it's okay to ask. You can say, "I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name," or "Could you tell me a bit about your role in the company?" Let me share a story about Anna, who had a panel interview for a management position. She was so nervous about impressing everyone that she forgot to be herself. She spoke in a very formal, uncomfortable way and didn't show her personality at all. She didn't get the job. Later, she learned that the panel felt she would be difficult to work with because she seemed so stiff and formal. In her next panel interview, Anna was more relaxed and natural. She smiled, asked questions, and showed genuine interest in the team. She got the job, and her new colleagues told her that they were impressed by how well she would fit in with their team culture. This brings up an important point. Be yourself in interviews. Of course, be your professional self, but don't try to be someone you're not. Employers want to hire people they can work with comfortably. Let's talk about some industry-specific tips. If you're applying for a job in healthcare, emphasize your compassion, attention to detail, and ability to work under pressure. For education jobs, highlight your patience, communication skills, and passion for helping others learn. For technology jobs, focus on your problem-solving abilities, willingness to learn new things, and ability to work independently. For retail or customer service jobs, emphasize your people skills, your ability to stay calm under pressure, and your sales abilities if relevant. For manufacturing or trade jobs, highlight your technical skills, safety consciousness, and reliability. But remember, no matter what industry you're in, employers always value certain qualities: reliability, honesty, willingness to learn, and the ability to work well with others. I want to address something that many of my students ask about. What if English is not your first language and you make grammar mistakes during the interview? First, don't panic. Most employers care more about clear communication than perfect grammar. Second, if you make a mistake and realize it, you can simply correct yourself and move on. Don't apologize repeatedly or draw too much attention to it. The most important thing is to speak clearly and confidently. Practice your key points beforehand so you feel comfortable with them. And remember, many successful people in English-speaking countries are not native speakers. Your unique background and perspective can actually be an advantage. Now, let's talk about what happens after you get the job. The interview process doesn't end when you're hired. Your first few days and weeks are like an extended interview. Show up on time, be eager to learn, ask questions when you're unsure, and be friendly to your new colleagues. Many companies have a probationary period, which means they can evaluate your performance for the first few months. During this time, it's especially important to demonstrate the qualities you talked about in your interview. I remember Maria, the student I mentioned earlier. After she got her job, she called me worried because she was making some small mistakes in her first week. I reminded her that everyone makes mistakes when they're learning something new. The important thing is to learn from them and show that you're committed to improving. Let me give you a final checklist for job interview success. Before the interview, research the company, prepare your answers to common questions, choose appropriate clothing, print extra copies of your resume, and plan your route so you arrive on time. During the interview, make eye contact, speak clearly and confidently, listen carefully to questions, ask thoughtful questions, and show enthusiasm for the position. After the interview, send a thank you email within 24 hours. Wait for their response and follow up politely if you don't hear back within their stated time frame. Remember, job interviews are a skill that improves with practice. Each interview you have, whether successful or not, teaches you something valuable. Don't be discouraged if you don't get the first job you interview for. Keep practicing, keep learning, and keep applying. I've been teaching English for 7 years, and I've seen hundreds of students succeed in their job searches. The ones who succeed are not necessarily the ones with perfect English or the most experience. They're the ones who prepare well, stay positive, and keep trying. Your dream job is out there waiting for you. With the right vocabulary, the right preparation, and the right attitude, you can find it. I believe in you, and I know you can succeed. Thank you so much for watching today's lesson. I hope these tips and vocabulary words help you feel more confident about your next job interview. Remember, every expert was once a beginner, and every success story started with someone who was willing to try. If this video helped you, please give it a like and share it with friends who might need these tips too. Subscribe to our channel for more English learning content and leave me a comment to let me know about your job interview experiences. I love hearing your success stories. Until next time, keep practicing, keep believing in yourself, and remember that your future is bright. Good luck with your job interviews, and I'll see you in the next lesson.